What's up everybody, it's Brenton Brown from Forza Tuning and Performance. And what I've got for you now is the next video series in the ultimate Trackhawk build, or some things that should be done on a Trackhawk build. So we're gonna highlight the things underneath the vehicle. Now, obviously there is much more stuff that you can do. So this would be basically what I think would be the necessity items on a 1,000 horsepower build. So we're just gonna start at the back since we're here. The first thing we see, obviously, is the Catback Exhaust. Now, on a regular Stage 4R Trackhawk, it's just like all the other packages. So it doesn't come with Catback Exhaust. On all the Challengers and Chargers, we recommend leaving it 100% stock until you're, I would say, above 1,000 wheel horsepower. Once you start getting into that kind of power range, then we upgrade to a totally custom system that we have. So on the Trackhawk, it has this suitcase style muffler. So it has mufflers in the back, but then in the middle of the truck has this suitcase style, kind of like the newer ZL1 Camaros. It's really restrictive, even with the headers and stuff. It doesn't really sound all that good, and it is robbing power. So we recommend a Catback. This is a system American Racing header makes for us. This is actually a little bit different than the ones that we normally use. So we constantly give feedback back and forth. So they'll make custom stuff for us, and we're constantly revising. And so we had a few design suggestions to make it fit a little bit better. So they were more than willing to make a few tweaks again. And this is one of those test ones, just trying to perfect it. So while we're back here, the exhaust tips are not on it. So, you know, if you're wondering, I've seen some stuff in comments and some stuff about, you know, the exhaust tips being crooked on a Trackhawk and whatnot. So that's actually really easy to fix. So this is the same way that the stock exhaust is set up. So I'm gonna grab an exhaust tip. And you'll notice that it's what's considered a ball socket, okay? And what makes these nice is you can just simply loosen up the bolt on the clamp and very easily move this tip, position it wherever you want to, and then tighten down the bolt. So if the exhaust tip isn't perfectly lined up in the rear valance, you can just loosen this a little bit, move it by hand, and tighten it right back up. So some of them stock or crooked just a little bit, and it just sometimes, you know, they might not get perfectly aligned, or maybe one got bumped a little bit and transport to the dealership. So don't worry about it, you can fix this very easily yourself. So that's that. And so the stock tips get reused. Next thing I'm going to talk about is these are what's called the rear tow bars, okay? And they're called that because they are responsible for adjusting the toe on the rear tires. The stock rear tow bars will bend when you're doing hard launches on a Trackhawk, even at stock power level. It's not as bad on the street, but if you're gonna take it to the track where you got sticky pavement and really get the traction down, you'll actually bend them, and you'll notice that the wheels will get crooked after a little bit. So they need to be upgraded. You can use a bar similar to this. So this is either, you can get a chrome moly bar or tubing, you know, DOM tubing. And then you either have like a hybrid bushing or a Delrin bushing or something like that. You just want something that's good quality. This is perfectly adequate, but what you can see on here is a new arm that we're working with AAD, which is All Angles Design. They do a lot of suspension stuff for us. So this is we wanted to do something that was even a better alternative than even this. So what we did is we got with Zach and Parker, sent them some drawings, sent over some stock arms and whatnot. And so this is what they came up with. Now, obviously, these are not anodized. These are test arms. The final arms are in production. So these will come off, and they'll be anodized black. There'll be some provisions to bolt the emergency brake cable onto the arm, similar to their Hellcat arms. So this is just, you know, billet aluminum. It's lighter, it's stronger. In my opinion, this looks better. So again, we're constantly trying to come up with, you know, better and better products, you know, as we go along. So that pretty much sums up that. The rest of the suspension arms, you can change them. We offer billet adjustable upper arms as well. You don't have to do it. It's not as needed as in the Charger Challenger platform. They are a really nice addition, again, and All Angles Design makes those as well. And those are sold through Chad at Black Ops, so you need to go through him to get those. Typically on sway bar links in the back, we just leave them stock. You can upgrade them again. Chad sells a set from AAD, really nice design. But again, it's not necessary. We usually never do it. All right, so the next thing I'll talk about is the rear differential brace. So we've covered this topic in the cars. So this brace in particular is made by B. Woody. So this is perfectly adequate. This would be what's considered like a one-piece rear diff brace, meaning it is a singular structural piece of metal that bolts to the differential and to the rear subframe of the Jeep. We actually worked with Bray at Performance Development on the new DIRS J brace, which is going to be a two-piece rear differential brace for the Trackhawk, and that's what we'll be using exclusively on every build. It's a much stronger brace, and it's a two-piece brace. So the way that works is you have one piece that is bolting to just the differential housing, okay? So it's billet, and that in and of itself will help structurally make the differential housing stronger. Okay, then the second piece is going to be another piece of billet aluminum, and it will mount to the rear subframe. Those two pieces are tied together with a bolt and a big rubber bushing, same bushing it's used in the top portion of the differential. The benefit of the two-piece is because the one piece is actually making the housing stronger, and then the secondary piece is able to make the connecting point further down on the differential. And why that's important is because you have a more triangulated bracing design, so it's much, much stronger. The differential in the Trackhawk, the casting is a little bit different, and it's actually a stronger mounting. Trying to think where it's mounted or how it's mounted in the subframe is a little bit stronger. The easiest way to explain it is if you kind of look at the correlation between where the pinion gear is, so where your drive shaft hooks up, that's connected to the pinion gear. So that's where all your torque is coming down the driveline. On the Trackhawk, it's the way that where the mounting points are, they're more centrally located. In other words, more in line with where the pinion gear is. If you look at a differential in a Challenger or Charger, the front mounting points are mounted up top, and the pinion is actually below it. So it's just by sheer nature, the pinion gear has more leverage to apply a torsional twist to the housing itself. So that portion, and I'm sure that they did this probably because obviously the vehicle's heavier to make the housing stronger, but adding a brace back here, I would say is a necessity. As you go through here, you might notice you're going to see paint marks on everything. We do a very stringent quality control check on all these vehicles. So when the vehicle first comes in, if we pick your vehicle up and you're out of state, which a lot of times that's the case, we have about 5 different drivers that we use. They are highly trained and carry very expensive vehicles, and it's all in closed transport, fully insured. And they do a very detailed inspection of your vehicle with you there, and then you sign off on it. When it arrives at our facility, they do another check with one of us present, and then we sign off on the vehicle. So once it comes in, we do a visual look around with the driver, and then we test drive the vehicle just to make sure that there's no check engine lights, vibrations, strange noises, or anything that's out of the normal. That way we know 100% that when we get to the tuning portion and we're driving it, if we hear a noise or something, we're not trying to figure out hey, is that something that we did or was that pre-existing? So we do that. Once the car gets pulled in, every car gets detailed before we even start working on it. And then, so once the vehicle comes in, it goes through a full safety check, front to back. So we literally go through and check every suspension bolt, brake bolt, everything, and torque it all on the car. And that's just for, we don't know if that car maybe had, let's just say, brakes replaced, a month ago, and say somebody didn't get the bolts torqued or something like that. We don't do anything with the brakes, but the vehicle leaves and something comes loose. This is just to cover ourselves. And obviously these cars have a lot of power. People are probably driving them fast, and we don't want any potentially, harmful situation. So that's the first major safety check. After the build, there's another safety check, and everything down the vehicle is checked that we do, and everything has a paint mark. So this makes it very easy to just do a visual inspection of anything that we touched is going to have a paint mark on it, so you can see what did we touch and what did we not touch, and you can see if the bolt is backed out or come loose. So really, you know, they've been using this on assembly lines and car stuff for a long time. So this says, hey, we touched this bolt and we have torqued it to spec with a calibrated torque wrench, okay? So that's the paint marks. And then obviously after tuning, before the car leaves, it goes through a third final safety check before it gets loaded on the truck. So that is just to ensure that you have a 100% reliable vehicle when it gets to you. Next, we have the drive shaft. So we always replace the front and rear drive shaft on all the Stage 4R Trackhawks. Same as the car, obviously there's not a front drive shaft on that, but and you can go with, this is an aluminum version from Drive Shaft Shop. Really nice drive shaft. You can get it in carbon fiber as well. Typically we just do the aluminum ones unless the customer wants the carbon fiber, and we offer that as an option. So we'll move up the line a little bit further. There's a brace missing off here, so if any of y'all notice it, this is kind of mid-build. We won't finish this portion until tomorrow, so don't pay any attention to that. You can't really see the headers very well, but they are up in there. You can tell that they're there. So that's part of every Stage 3 package. We do the headers. We do a custom set of headers made for us by American Racing Header. We ask for some specific things about the headers, unique to our design, and they accommodate that. And so that's who we use. American Racing Header makes a really high quality product. Obviously, you're getting a good view of the exhaust underneath the truck, and it's perfectly centered in the tunnel. You have plenty of drive shaft clearance, so on and so forth. We have a Hellcat outside that has a aftermarket Catback from a company I won't name, but the fitment is so poor, it hits the aftermarket drive shaft. So we are replacing it with a Catback from American Racing Header because he no longer has a stock Catback. So keep that in mind when you're buying stuff. Sometimes when stuff is a little bit cheaper, it's going to be more expensive in the end. On up here, we have the front differential brace. This is also a B Woody design. Pretty simple actually. Basically we just come off and we drill 2 holes in the webbing of the differential case, and this helps locks it in place. When we started doing these, and we're doing all the test fitting for the drive shafts for Drive Shaft Shop, we had a lot of trouble with the front CV hitting the subframe here. And so we didn't want to grind and clearance it. And so we ended up going with a different design CV. Basically, you know, Drive Shaft Shop came up with something that was smaller diameter that was still as strong as the bigger CV. And that's why you'll notice the CVs are different diameter on one side to the next. And another huge problem was how much movement the front differential had. So when we would put it on, it looked like it would have plenty of clearance. And then after test driving and a few hard launches, there would be, you know, rub marks. So we ended up mounting a GoPro underneath the vehicle, and we were actually shocked to see how much movement the front differential had on hard launches. So definitely put a front differential brace in there, and that pretty much wraps up the bottom side of the vehicle. Everything else, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. I mean, a lot of people, we lower a lot of them, but none of that stuff is necessary. These are the items that I feel, if you wanted the car to be perfectly reliable and have as much power as possible and didn't want to spend, you know, any extra, you just wanted the 100% reliability aspect, these are the modifications that I would suggest, and the other stuff would just be extras. So kind of wraps it up. If there's anything that you saw and I didn't touch base, you had any questions, again, always put them in the comments. If there's anything specifically you want to know, again, put it in the comments. And a lot of that stuff, it gives us feedback and ideas for future videos because it tells us what you all want to know. So again, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.